The bustling trade port on Tyrillian 4 served as a melting pot for interstellar commerce, where beings from different corners of the galaxy exchanged not only goods but also cultures. It was here, among the vibrant stalls and boisterous crowds, that Eric found himself negotiating over parts for his aging spacecraft. Eric was examining a navigation chip when he felt a tap on his shoulder. He turned to see a tall, slender figure with iridescent scales that shimmered under the market lights. Her eyes, large and vivid, studied him curiously. "Is it common for humans to inspect goods so thoroughly?" she asked, her voice melodic yet pointed. "Only the smart ones," Eric replied with a grin. "You've got to know what you're buying out here." "Name's Eric. Salira," she said, offering a hand, which Eric shook gently, noting the coolness of her skin. "I'm fascinated by humans." "You're very direct. Is that uncommon here?" Eric asked, his interest piqued as he tucked the navigation chip under his arm. "Among my people, the Veldry, we often dance around our true intentions. It's considered more polite," Salira explained, her gaze drifting across the various stalls. "Whereas humans can be pretty straightforward," Eric acknowledged, his eyes still on her, intrigued by the contrast she presented. "Would you mind showing me how you negotiate?" "I'm here to learn about different trading techniques," Salira proposed. Eric chuckled. "Sure. Why not? Follow me." They moved through the crowd to a vendor selling exotic fruits. Eric pointed at a vibrant, spiky fruit. "Watch and learn, Salira." "Hey there, how much for the loca fruit?" The vendor, a gruff-looking Bruton, growled a price. Eric shot back with an offer half that amount, his voice firm yet friendly. The vendor grunted, and they settled for something in the middle. Salira clapped her hands, delighted. "Incredible. You humans don't waste time. It's all about knowing what you want and going for it," Eric said, handing her the fruit. "Here, try this on the house." As she took a bite, her expression brightened. "Delicious, and I appreciate the gift. I must learn this technique." "Consider it part of the cultural exchange," Eric replied, as they continued to meander through the bustling lanes. "What brings a Veldry to a human trader in the middle of a busy market?" Eric asked, genuinely curious about her story. "I'm here on a study grant from the Veldry Cultural Exchange. We're encouraged to interact with other species to understand their ways," she explained, her tone thoughtful. "I chose humans because there's much to learn from your aggression in commerce and negotiation." "Aggression? I'd call it assertiveness," Eric countered with a playful nudge. "That's another thing I need to understand better." "Your nuances," she mused. As they discussed their differences, Eric noticed the way Salira's eyes lit up with genuine interest and excitement. He found himself drawn to her enthusiasm and her different perspective on seemingly ordinary things. "Tell me, Salira, ever been on a human spacecraft?" Eric suddenly asked, an idea forming in his mind. "Never," she replied, her scales glittering with anticipation. "Would you like to?" Eric offered, his plan taking shape. "I could show you around my ship. It's not much, but it's home." "I would love that," Salira exclaimed, her voice a mix of excitement and gratitude. "It would be a remarkable experience to see your technology up close." "Great. It's a date then," Eric said, leading the way out of the market with a new friend and an unexpected afternoon ahead. Their walk to the spaceport was filled with lively conversation about their worlds, laying the foundation for a friendship that promised to bridge the gap between human and Veldry cultures. As the spaceport gates approached, Eric couldn't help but feel that this chance meeting might just be the beginning of something incredible. Eric led Salira through the docking bays of the spaceport, where ships of various designs and origins hummed and hissed, each telling tales of faraway worlds and the adventures that bridged them. Salira's eyes darted around in wonder, her fascination apparent. "This is your ship?" Salira asked as they stopped in front of a rugged but well-maintained cruiser, its hull etched with the scars of countless journeys. "Yes, the Venture Star. She's not the newest model, but she's got character," Eric explained, patting the ship affectionately. They boarded, and Eric showed Salira around. The cockpit with its array of blinking lights and the living quarters adorned with trinkets from different planets particularly intrigued her. "Humans live with such personality around them," Salira observed, touching a hanging charm gently. We like to make space feel like home, Eric said, smiling. Now, how about we grab some dinner? There's a place nearby that serves dishes from across the galaxy. It's a good spot to continue our cultural exchange. That sounds delightful, Salira agreed, her tone eager. The eatery was a cozy place with a warm ambience, filled with patrons of various species. They found a quiet table and soon their conversation flowed over shared platters of exotic cuisine. So, what's a typical day like for a Veldry scholar? Eric asked, offering Salira a taste of a spicy noodle dish from a remote human colony. Mostly, it involves a lot of research and learning. We Veldry value knowledge above many things, Salira explained, carefully trying the noodle dish. This is quite flavorful. Humans enjoy strong sensations, don't they? We do. Life's too short for bland food, Eric joked. What about Veldry cuisine? Our dishes are milder. We focus on the natural tastes of ingredients. I must admit, though, there's an excitement to your foods that's quite electrifying. Their meal continued with discussions about their planetary traditions, holidays, and everyday norms. Eric was fascinated by Salira's descriptions of Veldry rites of passage, which involved elaborate dances and mental challenges. And what about love and relationships? How are they viewed in Veldry culture? Eric ventured, curious about her personal life. Salira paused, her cheeks coloring slightly. They are considered deeply private. We don't show much public affection. But personally, I find the human way rather endearing. Is that so? Eric smiled, sensing her interest. Well, human relationships can be pretty straightforward. We say how we feel. Sometimes it's messy, but it's always real. I like that, being real, Salira said, her gaze meeting his. There was a moment of connection, a silent acknowledgement of the budding interest between them. As dinner wound down, Eric suggested, how about a walk? There's a park nearby with some incredible views of the city skyline. I'd love that, Salira replied, her tone conveying more than casual interest. The city park was tranquil, with pathways illuminated by soft lights and the skyline providing a dramatic backdrop. They walked side by side, occasionally brushing hands. Eric, I appreciate you showing me these aspects of human life, Salira said as they paused to admire the view. I feel closer to understanding your kind. I'm glad to hear that. I've learned a lot from you too, Salira. It's not every day you get to show an alien around, Eric chuckled, then grew more serious. I hope we can spend more time like this. Salira nodded, her eyes reflecting the city lights. I would like that very much, Eric. Their evening ended with a promise to explore more of each other's worlds, each learning not just about a different culture but about deeper, more personal landscapes that extended far beyond the reaches of any star map. As they parted ways for the night, the air between them was charged with anticipation, both aware that their next meeting would further deepen the unexpected connection they had found. The following morning, Eric met Salira at the spaceport, where the Venture Star was docked and ready for a short journey. He could see the excitement in her eyes, a sparkle that matched the morning sun reflecting off the sleek hulls of the surrounding ships. Ready for a little adventure? Eric asked, his hand gesturing towards the open hatch. More than ready, Salira replied, stepping aboard with a sense of eagerness. As they settled into the cockpit, Eric began prepping for departure. Salira watched intently, her curiosity piqued by the array of controls and displays. Do you always fly alone? She inquired, her gaze fixed on the flickering screens. Most of the time, yes. It keeps things simple. But it's nice to have company, especially company as curious as you, Eric answered, flashing her a grin as he initiated the launch sequence. The ship gently lifted off, leaving the bustling spaceport behind. As they cleared the atmosphere, the vastness of space opened up before them, a tapestry of darkness dotted with distant stars. This is incredible, Salira breathed out, her face pressed against the glass, eyes wide with wonder. I never get tired of this view, Eric admitted, watching her reaction with a sense of satisfaction. First stop, the moons of Galdra. They have some of the best views in the system. As they approached Galdra, the planet's 3 moons came into view. Each moon was distinct, colored by its own unique atmosphere and geological history. We'll land on the Los. It has an observation deck built just for views of Galdra's rings, Eric explained as he maneuvered the ship towards the moon. The landing was smooth, and soon they were disembarking onto the surface of the Los. The observation deck provided a breathtaking panorama of the giant planet, its rings casting wide arcs across the sky. "It's beautiful," Salira said, her voice soft, almost reverent. "Come on, there's something else I want to show you," Eric said, leading her to a smaller platform away from the main deck. Here, the view was more intimate, the vastness of space felt more palpable. They stood together, watching the universe unfold in silence, the only sound their own breathing and the occasional comms chatter from the ship. "I used to dream about space as a kid," Eric finally spoke. "Being out here, it's a reminder of how small our problems really are." Salira turned to him, her expression thoughtful. "We Veldry believe the stars hold our destinies. Out here, I can believe it." Their eyes met, and something unspoken passed between them. Eric reached out, his hand brushing hers, tentative yet wanting. Salira didn't pull away. Instead, she clasped his hand, her grip firm. "Eric, she started, but he cut her off. "Salira, I don't know what's happening here, but I don't want to ignore it," he said earnestly, his voice thick with emotion. "Neither do I," she whispered back, her eyes locked on his. They stood there, hand in hand, as the universe stretched out infinitely before them. The moment was simple yet profound, two beings from different worlds finding a connection in the vast expanse of space. "Let's head back," Eric suggested after a while, his voice gentle. "There's more I want to show you." As they walked back to the ship, their hands remained linked, a silent agreement that whatever was happening between them was worth exploring. Back aboard the Venture Star, as they set course for the next destination, their conversation flowed freely, ranging from tales of past adventures to hopes for the future. Each story, each shared laugh, wove a thread in the fabric of their growing bond, a bond that was becoming as vast as the space that surrounded them. After their introspective visit to the Los, Eric piloted the Venture Star towards Galdrafor, a lush planet known for its bioluminescent forests. The journey was quiet, both of them lost in their own thoughts, yet comforted by the shared silence that had settled between them. "Galdrafor is up next," Eric announced as the planet came into view, its verdant hues a stark contrast to the dark void of space. "You're going to love the forests here." Salira looked intrigued. "Bioluminescence? I've read about such ecosystems but never seen one. Wait till you see it at night. The whole forest lights up like a living star map," Eric replied with a smile, sensing her excitement. They landed near one of the renowned forest reserves just as the local sun was setting. The fading light promised a spectacular show once darkness fell. They disembarked, stepping into the cool, fragrant air that was rich with the scents of alien flora. As they walked into the forest, the ground underfoot began to glow softly, lighting their path. Eric led Salira deeper into the woods, where the light from bioluminescent plants grew stronger, casting an ethereal glow on everything around them. "It's like walking through a dream," Salira whispered, her eyes wide with wonder. "Yeah, it's one of my favorite places to come when I'm docked nearby," Eric shared, watching her delight. "It makes you feel a part of something larger, doesn't it?" "It does," she agreed, then paused to look at him. "Eric, back on the Los, she hesitated, searching for the right words. "When we held hands?" Eric finished for her, his voice gentle. "Yes, I've been thinking about that," she admitted, her gaze meeting his under the soft light of the glowing plants. "Me too," Eric confessed, stopping to face her. "There's something special here, Salira. Something I haven't felt in a long time." Salira reached out, her hand tentatively finding his. "Nor have I, and I am uncertain but also hopeful." Eric squeezed her hand. "Let's not worry about the what-ifs right now. Tonight, it's just us and this incredible place." Encouraged by his words, Salira smiled, and they continued walking, their hands clasped firmly. The forest around them seemed to celebrate their connection, with glowing flowers and shimmering leaves creating a magical atmosphere. As they reached a clearing, Eric stopped and pointed upwards. "Look at that," he said. Above them, the canopy had thinned, revealing the night sky filled with stars. The bioluminescence from the trees framed the celestial display, creating a breathtaking vista. "It's beautiful," Salira said, her voice filled with awe. "I'm glad I got to share this with you," Eric said, turning to face her. "Being with you here, it makes it even more special." Salira faced him, her expression earnest. "I feel the same, Eric. There's a peace here, with you, that I haven't known before." They stood there in the clearing, the light from the forest and the stars above mingling with the light in their eyes. Slowly, Eric leaned down, his intention clear. Salira met him halfway, and their first kiss was soft and tentative, like the touch of the glowing leaves around them. As they parted slightly, Salira laughed softly. "You are full of surprises, human, and you're incredible, Veldry," Eric responded, his heart light. They spent the rest of the night exploring the forest, their steps guided by the natural luminescence and their hearts by the newfound bond between them. By the time they returned to the ship, the early hours of the morning were drawing close, but neither felt tired. Instead, they were energized by their shared experiences and the promise of what was to come. The next morning found Eric and Salira in a small cafe near the spaceport, enjoying a quiet breakfast. The previous night's adventures had left them closer, a subtle but unmistakable change in their dynamics evident in their easy smiles and shared glances. "So, what's on the agenda today?" Eric asked, taking a sip of his coffee. "I was thinking we could visit the cultural center here. It's a place where artists from all over the galaxy come to showcase their work. It might give us more insights into each other's cultures," Salira suggested, her eyes bright with enthusiasm. "That sounds great," Eric agreed, his interest genuine. "Lead the way." They spent the morning immersed in the vibrant life of the cultural center, admiring intricate paintings, sculptures, and holographic installations from dozens of different species. Each piece offered a glimpse into the minds and hearts of its creator, further enriching their understanding of the galaxy's diverse inhabitants. As they stood before a particularly striking holographic display, a group of Veldry approached them. Their leader, a tall male with deep blue scales, fixed his gaze on Salira, his expression stern. "Salira, is it appropriate for you to be fraternizing so openly with a human?" he asked in a tone that was not quite accusatory but close to it. Salira stiffened, her joy fading as she faced her kin. "There's nothing inappropriate about learning from one another. Eric has shown me many things about human culture that are worth understanding, but to see you together, acting as if you are bonded, it raises concerns," another Veldry interjected, her voice laced with disapproval. Eric, feeling the tension, stepped slightly in front of Salira. "We mean no disrespect. Our time together has been about cultural exchange and mutual respect," he said firmly, his protective instincts kicking in despite his respect for Veldry customs. The lead Veldry looked from Eric to Salira, his expression softening slightly. "I apologize if we have misunderstood. But you must understand, our people are cautious. Our ways are not like yours, and what might seem casual to you can appear very different to us." Salira nodded. "I understand, and I appreciate your concern. But please trust that I am also teaching Eric about our ways, just as he teaches me." The group exchanged looks, the tension ebbing slowly. "Very well, Salira. We will trust your judgment," the leader concluded, giving Eric a measured nod before they departed. Once the group had left, Salira let out a breath she didn't realize she'd been holding. "I'm sorry about that. I didn't expect such a confrontation." "It's okay," Eric reassured her, placing a comforting hand on her shoulder. "It's part of learning about each other, right? Facing a few challenges is unavoidable." "Yes, you're right," Salira agreed, managing a small smile. "Shall we continue?" As the day progressed, they visited more exhibits, but the morning's encounter lingered in the air between them. After leaving the cultural center, they found a quiet park to sit and talk. "I've been thinking about what happened earlier," Eric started, looking intently at Salira. "I don't want to cause you any trouble with your people. Maybe we should." "Don't," Salira cut him off, her voice firm. Don't let one awkward encounter set the tone for us. I value what we have, and I'm not willing to give it up because it's a bit complicated. Eric nodded, his respect for her evident in his gaze. Okay, then. We'll handle it together. Whatever comes. That's exactly what I wanted to hear, Salira said, her relief clear. And besides, I think we're good for each other. We're learning, growing. Isn't that what cultural exchange is all about? Absolutely, Eric agreed, his smile returning. And who knows? Maybe we'll teach our own people a thing or two about handling differences with grace. They spent the rest of the afternoon discussing plans for more adventures, their spirits lifted by their reaffirmed commitment to navigate any challenges together. As the sun began to set, casting a warm glow over the park, Eric and Salira walked back to the spaceport, their steps in sync, ready to face whatever the galaxy had in store for them next. Under the silvery glow of Tyrillian Ivy's twin moons, Eric and Salira found themselves at a quaint seaside cafe, its gentle waves providing a serene backdrop for the evening. After the day's earlier tensions, they had chosen this spot for its calming effect and the privacy it afforded. As they sat sipping their drinks, Salira turned to Eric, her expression contemplative. Eric, I've been thinking about everything that's happened. About us. Eric set down his drink, giving her his full attention. I've been thinking a lot too. Today was a reminder of how complicated things can get. Salira nodded. Yes, but also how important it is to be clear about what we want and what we feel. She paused, taking a deep breath before continuing. I want to be honest with you. About my feelings. Eric leaned in slightly, encouraged by her openness. I'd like that. Honesty is something I value, especially now. Salira smiled softly. I feel drawn to you, in a way that I didn't anticipate when we first met. It's more than just curiosity or friendship. I'm not sure how you feel, or even if it's wise to feel this way, but I needed to tell you. Eric's heart quickened. He had felt the growing connection between them, but hadn't dared to define it until now. Salira, I feel the same. I didn't expect to find someone like you when I agreed to this exchange. But here we are, and I'm glad for it. There's something special about you, something I don't want to ignore. Her relief was palpable, and she reached across the table to take his hand. I was hoping you'd say that. They sat in silence for a moment, simply enjoying the connection. Finally, Eric spoke up. So, where do we go from here? I think we continue to explore this. Whatever it is, Salira suggested. We learn from each other, grow together. See where this path leads us, without any pretenses. Sounds like a plan, Eric agreed, his tone light, but his eyes serious. I want to see where this journey with you goes. The conversation shifted then, as they began to plan out their remaining time on Tyrillian 4. They talked about visiting historical sites and participating in local festivals, each suggestion building on their excitement to experience more together. As the night deepened, they decided to take a walk along the beach. The sound of the waves mingled with their laughter, the easy camaraderie they had formed now deepened by their shared confessions. Do you think it'll always be like this? Salira asked as they paused to watch the horizon where the ocean met the sky. I hope so, Eric replied. But even if things change, I think we'll handle it. Together. They stood watching the waves for a while longer, each lost in thoughts of futures possible and the paths yet to be explored. Eventually, they made their way back to the spaceport, their hands linked, a silent vow between them to face whatever came next with openness and courage. As they neared the Venture Star, Eric stopped and turned to Salira. Thanks for being honest tonight. It means a lot to me. Salira squeezed his hand. And thank you for being you. For making space for this for us. They smiled at each other, the connection between them stronger than ever, fueled by honesty and a mutual desire to see where their feelings could lead. With hearts lighter than they had been for days, they boarded the ship, ready to continue their adventures together, both on this planet and beyond. After several days filled with explorations and shared experiences, Eric and Salira found themselves back aboard the Venture Star, orbiting the luminous planet of Saren. The planet was known for its tranquil seas and reflective atmosphere, creating a perfect setting for reflection and deeper connection. Eric prepared a small, intimate dinner in the ship's galley, setting the table with a view of the planet below. The cabin was softly lit, with a playlist of soothing terrestrial and Veldry music blending into the background. As Salira entered the galley, she paused, taking in the scene. "Eric, this is beautiful," she said, genuinely touched by his effort. "I thought we deserved a special evening," Eric replied, pulling out a chair for her. "After everything we've been through, a quiet night seemed right." They began with a light salad, moving on to a main course of grilled fish that Eric had learned to prepare during their visits to the aquatic farms of Aquilon. They talked about their pasts, their dreams, and the strange, wonderful path that had brought them together. As the meal concluded, Eric poured them each a glass of wine from a vineyard they had visited on their last stop. He raised his glass, toasting, "To new beginnings and to us." "To us," Salira echoed, clinking her glass against his. The conversation mellowed as they finished their drinks. Eric took Salira's hand, leading her to the viewing deck where the lights were dimmed to better see the stars. Standing close, Eric spoke softly. "Salira, being with you these past days, I've felt something I haven't in a long time. I don't know what the future holds, but I know I want you in it." Salira moved closer, her voice equally soft. "And you, Eric. There's nowhere else I'd rather be than here, with you." Slowly, the space between them closed as they leaned into a kiss, gentle at first but deepening with the unspoken emotions they had been nurturing. As they pulled away slightly, Salira whispered, "Stay with me tonight?" Without a word, Eric led her by the hand to his quarters. There, the intimacy of their connection unfolded naturally. They kissed, deeply and with abandon, exploring each other with a mix of eagerness and reverence. Their touches were curious and attentive, learning the contours and responses of each other's bodies. As they moved together to the bed, the outside universe faded away, leaving only the two of them in their private cosmos. Their union was a dance of passion and discovery, each movement and sigh a testament to the bond they had formed. Afterward, they lay together in silence, the only sound their synchronized breathing and the distant hum of the ship. Eric traced patterns on Salira's arm, marveling at the smoothness of her skin. "Eric," Salira finally broke the silence. "This feels right, doesn't it?" "It does," Eric confirmed, his voice filled with contentment. "I've never been more sure of anything." They spent the rest of the night talking softly, making plans, sometimes pausing simply to appreciate the quiet company. By the time they drifted off to sleep, a new day was dawning on Saren below, its light a soft glow that filled their room with a promise of continued adventure and togetherness. In the morning, they woke entwined, the peace of the night lingering as they greeted the day. They shared a quiet breakfast, their smiles speaking volumes. The journey ahead was uncertain, filled with unknowns, but they were certain of one thing: their desire to face it together, whatever it might bring. Eric and Salira stood together at the bow of the Venture Star, watching as the stars streaked by, the warp drive propelling them towards their next destination. After their intimate night together, a comfortable silence had settled between them, a testament to the depth of their connection. "Where are we heading?" Salira asked, her voice tinged with excitement and curiosity. "I was thinking of the Helix Nebula," Eric replied, his hand finding hers. "They say it's one of the most beautiful sights in the galaxy. I want to see it with you." Salira squeezed his hand, her smile bright. "I can't think of a better way to continue our adventures." As the ship continued on its course, they made their way back inside to the main cabin. Eric pulled up the navigation charts, showing Salira the route they would take. "It'll be a few days' travel," Eric explained. "Plenty of time to plan what we want to do when we get there." Salira nodded, leaning over to study the chart. "I'd like that. And, Eric, there's something I've been wanting to discuss." "Oh." Eric turned to her, intrigued. "It's about us," she began, her tone serious but gentle. "This journey we're on, it's more than just traveling together, isn't it?" "It is," Eric agreed, his gaze intense. "It's about sharing our lives. Salira, these past weeks with you have changed me. I don't want this to end." "Nor do I," Salira affirmed. "Eric, I want to make this permanent. I mean, if you're willing, I'd like to officially join you here, on the Venture Star." Make it my home as well as yours. The offer filled Eric with a warmth he hadn't expected. I'd like that more than anything, he said, his voice thick with emotion. To have you here with me, always. They spent the next hours discussing what their future together would look like. They planned modifications to the ship to accommodate Salira's needs, talked about the places they wanted to visit, and even broached the subject of possibly collaborating on trade ventures. As the day turned into evening, they prepared dinner together in the ship's small kitchen, their movements synchronized and filled with laughter and light touches. Over dinner, Eric raised his glass, a twinkle in his eye. To us, to our future, and to all the stars we've yet to see. To us, Salira echoed, clinking her glass against his. After they cleaned up, they settled into the cockpit, watching as the nebula drew closer, its swirling gases a riot of color against the black canvas of space. Look at that, Eric pointed out as the nebula came into full view. Its colors more vibrant than any image could convey. It's breathtaking, Salira breathed out, her head resting against Eric's shoulder. They sat in silence, absorbing the beauty before them, each lost in thoughts of the future. It was a future filled with unknowns, but also one brimming with possibilities. They had each other, and with that, they had everything they needed. As the Venture star sailed through the cosmos, its two occupants were content in the knowledge that whatever challenges and wonders lay ahead, they would meet them together. The nebula outside was a brilliant spectacle, a reminder of the beauty and vastness of the universe they had yet to explore. As partners, as companions, as two souls united in their journey through the stars,